Uh-oh.
He doesn't like me. Next time you talk to him, you tell him I'm disappointed.
Hey everybody, we are here today. We're going to wrap up the Michelle Obama book. So this is our live book club. And then the next book that we're going to do is going to be Trevor Noah. One of my moms is traveling with her family, so it's just my other mother. Well, my original mom.
Original, I'm the original.
Okay, so we are at the very end. Okay, let's set a timer. Alexa, set a timer for 20 minutes from now.
20 minutes, starting now.
Because we don't want to keep you guys forever. We try to be respectful of your time. So we're at the very last section, Becoming More. And this is kind of like, what is it kind of like? Right after the, kind of into the presidency, right? Or after the election, a couple months later, is that when this starts?
Yeah, and she kind of tries to define her role.
Yes.
She realizes, but being the first black female, she has to be better at everything.
Excellent, all the time.
Yeah, because she will be judged by a different yardstick than her predecessors.
Yeah, and
And
and then it's like a role also where there's no definition. So she's, they've made it here. She knows she wants to be excellent at being the first lady, but she's in a position where there's no instructions. Don't you think? That was kind of it too. And then she was like thinking about reading about books about other first ladies, but she was like, no, because I want to be me. And I want to do the things that matter to me. And then it kind of...
me and to my people.
Yes.
And to my...
And it took her a little bit to she got her team together, and then they started talking about some things, and then she started discovering what was important to her and what she would invest in, because whatever she decided she was going to invest in, she wanted it to be 100, and she wanted to have the right people on board to make it excellent. So, and I do think everything that she invested in was great. She did that garden, she did the Let's Move, she...
healthy kids. A lot of people were offended because they saw she
Yes.
doesn't like fat people or whatever, which she didn't. She just was concerned about these little chubby kids, I'm concerned, I was at the Munich Tuesday night and I couldn't believe how many
chunky kids are in the world,
and low 20s are in the 300-pound range.
And we're all concerned about it. That's why we do the fitness videos, and we're concerned about it with Torsten, because we also realize once that's in your house, you try to do what you can to make it better, and then you also have to realize that everybody's responsible because everybody is bringing things in that are consumed. So we're doing that with Torsten, we're doing that with ourselves, and we've already seen progress, in those areas too. You just have to be a conscious person. And I just like it that she was really conscious, for the whole nation concerning those things. And people were criticizing her because they knew she was this educated lady. They wanted to see what she was going to do. But she wasn't going to do what Hillary did, which was take herself into the West Wing. She was going to establish herself in that East Wing and not get...
in her husband's way.
Yes, he was the person that was elected in, and she was his support. But she had her own things to do that were outside of that. And I like it that she never tried to mingle her way in. She only went when she was asked to go, and that was it. And her husband called her a couple times. Once when there was that shooting, and once when something else happened. I can't remember. Because they're both really attached to children, and they care about the community. And it was just, I think it was that very first school shooting thing. She got summoned to the West Wing, which I think was one of the only times. I got some things highlighted here that we could go over too. On 318. This was when she went to the palace to see the queen. And I thought it was interesting because it was kind of like that time when she was setting the stage for the things that she was going to do. And then that visit was kind of important because it helped to realign, I'm going to be working with kids. These are the things that I'm going to do. But then she also got to see the queen and her abundance, because she was starting to feel is all this necessary, the White House, all these rooms, all the security. And then she was able to go somewhere else where there was even more, even bigger house, all these other little etiquettes and things, that had to be followed. And then I think her and the queen were together for a little bit, and they made, in a moment, they weren't, she wasn't the queen and she wasn't the first ladies. There were just two ladies that were uncomfortable in their high heels. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, and Michelle's that person. She can always bring out this common trend that makes us human, not that makes us superhuman, you know?
Yeah, the Queen is just another human.
Yes.
And her feet hurt just like mine or yours if we are
Yeah.
too long in uncomfortable shoes.
And it says here, forget that she sometimes wore a diamond crown and that I'd flown to London on the presidential jet. We were just two tired ladies oppressed by our shoes. I then did what instinctive to me, and this is when she like broke that protocol and she put her hand around her because they had shared that moment, you know, and she was just being close with her, and then she realized later that wasn't
that
what you're
was
supposed to do or whatever.
protocol.
But I think her and the Queen both were just
Fine
having a
with
moment
it.
together, you know, there was no personal
They're
problem
fine
there.
with it, it's just the
People are
public,
always watching,
yeah.
you know, that's just what it is. And then that's when she went on to visit that school, that all-girls school. And that's kind of like, her focus always was kids and then girls.
Yeah.
So that was her push, like always children and girls. And then she really tried to keep it real with the, you know, communities that were struggling too. You know, she tried to get involved with that. And so she went to visit this girls' school, and you know, she was only supposed to be there for a minute. She ended up being there like all day, and she just has this rapport with people where she tries to really touch and hug everyone because she remembers what it was like to be a kid and to feel like, am I good enough? And that was one of her things. Like, she wanted children to have somebody that they respect, reminding them constantly that they were good enough.
Yeah, and lift them up, not
Yes.
put them down.
Yes.
Not put doubts in their mind, can I do it or not? Just go in with a positive attitude. Even if you don't succeed, you tried.
And on 320 it says, an aligning of my old self with this new role, are you good enough? Yes, you are, all of you. Like at the school, like, and she feels like every time she's with kids, it helps her to realign herself. Like, it brings normalcy into her unnormal situation because it's so unreal to be the first president. So that was nice. And then, and she always says, like, she loves being with kids because when she's with kids, like, it just realigns her spirit, you know, with who she really is. And it makes her feel, kids just make me feel like myself again. Like, they just level you down. You're just the lady that's kind of tall. You know what I mean? That's from the south side. Let's see. Then we're on chapter 21. So this is when, like, this is the first term, like, they're in public office, and she's really missing, like, their date nights. They used to have these date nights. She's missing time with him because the job is so consuming. So Barack created a date night, and then they went and they had a dinner, and then they went to a show, and they went to New York, their favorite city. And at the end, you know, she was reflecting, and she was like, it was nice to reconnect and know that we are still one, you know, when we are out.
But the hassle we caused for the other people.
It never became like a routine for them because she realized, like, it's just so hard to go anywhere with the president. It's such an inconvenience for everyone, you know, the traffic and all those type of things.
Streets are blocked and everything, and people cannot come in the restaurant. They get checked out, and it was just. She felt bad to put everyone else through that for her own.
Yeah. So here it says on 327, it was as if with our date, Barack and I had tested a theory of proven both the best and the worst path for what we've suspected all along. The nice part was that we could step away for a romantic evening the way we used 2 years earlier before his political life took off. We could, as first couple, feel close and connected, enjoying a meal and a show in a city we both loved. The harder part was seeing the selfish inherence in making that choice, knowing that it had required hours of advanced meeting between security teams and local police, and it had involved extra work for our staffers, for the theater, for the waiters at the restaurant, for the people whose cars had been diverted off 6th Avenue, for the police on the street. It was part of the new heaviness we lived with. There were just so many people involved, too many affected for anything to feel light. So I thought I like this paragraph because it makes it realize, like, what a real burden it is to be the president and the first lady. Like, your life is all consumed with this responsibility for 4 or 8 years, and you just can't go back to your regular life. I think during the second term, Barack started coaching the basketball team, like assistant coach, like as he could, because he really you know, he loves basketball and he played basketball when he was a child, and he wants to get involved too. And I think the heaviness of that first term was over with them, and they had, the second term was easier, not because it's easy to be president, but just because they had their people set up, they had the people that they trusted around them. They didn't have to
Made
rebuild.
some adjustments,
Mhm.
they had their routines, like for the kids, you know, that they could sometimes go somewhere and do something, or have a slumber party at the White House or whatever, you know, so they were working around some of the securities.
And I felt like at
Like
that,
her mom, when she leaves the,
Yeah,
and goes
she's
to
awesome.
CVS or whatever, all by herself and dressed up some way, and someone said, you look familiar.
She's like, "No, that's not
I
me."
get that a lot of times.
and then in this next paragraph, it also, you know, her garden's coming. They're doing their first harvest. It's that first year where they're doing the first of everything. And Michelle's also realizing, regardless of what I choose to do, I knew I was bound to disappoint someone. Like, with the garden, like, people are criticizing her. Oh, you're just like into gardening now. Like, they're not seeing the bigger picture of what she's trying to do, because
That always was a lawn.
Yeah.
You're now digging it all up for a garden.
she had to get many permits and permissions to even create this project, and then it was like a great success. And that was one of the ways that she continually invited young people into the White House, and they helped work and cultivate the land there. And I don't know how many young people were in the White House right now, but I know with the Obamas there was a lot of that. And a lot of it wasn't advertised, because Michelle would be like having these little young women mentor groups, and she wouldn't advertise it because she didn't want it to be hard for those young ladies when they left there with, you know, the press and things like
They
that.
harass them and ask them 1,001 questions and so. But later on, she says she still has a lot of contact with a lot of these young people, and they all seem to be successful in life because they had good examples and encouragement, and you know.
Yeah. So let me just skip ahead. And then in this chapter it also talks about her clothes, because
Yeah.
people are so interested in her clothes, and she almost was like, people don't even care what I say, they just care what I wear. And then in this chapter it also, I think it talks about like how she gets like her hairstylist, her makeup person, and the person to help her with her wardrobe. And of course all that comes out of their budget. This isn't like infinite money, and it says it in there too, like she had to be mindful of these things. But in order to look good every single day, just as a regular person, like camera ready, there are things like she had to do that I mean, I'm looking crazy right now, I just put on a shirt and a bra and we're doing this, but you know what I'm saying?
She couldn't appear like this.
No, she couldn't. She had to be
couldn't.
like top notch in everything, because as you can see, people were judging her everywhere she went and with every approach that she took. So,
And she used a lot of their own money.
yes.
Because she didn't want to,
Mhm.
you know, use the country's money for certain things. And so, like, when they remodeled and put the furniture in, whatever, for the kids and all this, that all came out of their own monies.
So she had this 3 team, and she called them her trifecta, and they helped her to maintain her look, just because their lives were so busy. Like it said in the book at some point, like every Friday or Sunday night, like she wouldn't even remember what she did on Monday, because every day when they had dinner, they would drop off these folders at the
Yeah.
little table they had there,
A
and
sideboard or something.
yeah, and like every day at dinner, like they had to start prepping for the next day's events, and that happened every single day for 8 years straight. Like they never just like went to dinner and were like, I wonder what we're gonna do tomorrow. Like they already knew. They had this agenda every single day. There was never like a day of rest or where they could just do anything they wanted to do. So, and I think like in these little chapters, it also discusses like how Michelle makes these requirements for the security people that watch the babies too. Well, they're not babies, they're in high school and stuff. And she says, you know, if you're gonna be a kid, you gotta move like a kid. Like my kids can't be old people, they still have to be young. And when they wanna go make an ice cream run, we're gonna have to figure out a way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was cool too. She kept her kids' life as normal as she could, and she even had to like be very vocal with the security team because she was breaking their little protocols. But she was like, we will protect them, but we will allow them to be children. Let's see. And then there was this, do you remember that dream that she
Yeah,
had?
with a cheetah.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Just then the cheetah let out a snarl and launched itself at Sasha, its claw extended, its body seeming to fly. An agent took a shot, missing the animal, though scaring it through that it veered off course and retreated back down the hill. I was relieved for a split second, but then I saw it. A white and orange tranquilizer dart lodged in Sasha's right arm. I lurched up, was in bed, heart humming, my body soaked in sweat, only to find my husband curled in comfortable sleep beside me.
Yeah.
I had a very
was
bad dream.
having some bad dreams in the White House. And I think the dream started off where the Secret Service came to her, oh, today we have something special planned for you guys, a little stress reliever, and they had like this petting zoo, and she was like, okay, these are all wild cats. So I think, like, she's just a human, she's having dreams and nightmares just like everybody else.
No cages,
Yeah.
nothing, like, when they're out in the world, people are all wild too, you don't know which one has a gun, which one is.
And then it also in the book says, she was very involved with military people. She always went to these military bases. And there was also this example where, she just had much respect for them. And there was this thing on somebody's door, and it's in the book here. Attention to all those who enter. If you are coming into this room with a sorrow or to feel sorry for my wounds, go elsewhere. The wound I receive, I got in a job. I love doing it for people. I love supporting the freedom of our country that I love deeply, and I'm incredibly tough, and I will make a full recovery. And then that guy, I think he even he had all these burn marks all over him, and he stood up and he wanted to salute her, when she came in, and the nursing staff and the doctors were all upset because they didn't want him to do it. Do you remember that part? Yeah, so she's a very patriotic person, and she really appreciated the people that were in the military service. And I think that's important to mention, because a lot of people just remember the let's move, and the children things she did. And then...
And he mentioned Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
We had just finished dinner, and Sasha and Malia had run off to their homework, leaving the two of us alone in the residence dining room. We think we know where he is, Barakzat. We may go in and try to take him out, but nothing's sure. Bin Laden was the world's most wanted man and had eluded detection for years. Capturing or killing him had been one of Barack's top priorities when he took office. I knew it would mean something to the nation, to the many thousands of military service members who'd spent years trying to protect us from Al-Qaeda, and especially to all those who had lost loved ones on September 11.
Yeah. So then there's this incident with, is it Sasha or Malia? At a sporting event, because they were into sports and stuff, and one of the other moms was like, aren't you afraid out here? Because she was out doing her thing with just that one security person.
Yeah.
And then she's turned around and she was like, if you're asking me whether I ponder my death every day, she said to the woman, as politely as she could, the answer is no. But I think, it was probably a scary time, and there was a lot of hate out there. And I think even the White House got shot up with a machine gun right after Trump.
When she was in her little room where she liked to be, basically the dressing room, but it's a nice big room, not probably bigger than our bedrooms.
Sure.
She liked to sit there and read her folders that you get in the evening, and there they had to replace the glass in that room.
Yeah. So, there was a lot of stuff going on, and her children rightfully had a right to be afraid, but they weren't being raised in fear, But it's just weird how adults approach children sometimes, I guess. And then here on 355 it says, I felt that I owed more to children in general, and particular to girls. And, that's when she was making up her mind about the things that she was going to invest in as she was the first lady, like the causes she was going to take on. And then when she was referring to that, she said, I thought of my great Aunt Ruby and her exacting piano standards, and how she taught me to lift my chin and play my heart out on a baby grand, even if all I ever known was an upright with broken keys. So she was, just saying she had people in her corner all her life.
Her dad, he treated
She wanted
her
to be in
the
other
same
people's
like a
corners.
boss.
Yeah.
Like Craig, he taught her how to throw football, and he kind of didn't, baby her because she was a girl.
Yeah, and then that's when she started that mentor program in the White House, inviting 20 sophomore and junior girls from high schools around greater DC to join us for monthly get-togethers that included informal chats, field trips, sessions on things like financial literacy and choosing a career, and we kept the program largely behind closed doors rather than thrusting these girls into the media, fray, is that what it says?
Yeah.
So she did many things that people aren't totally aware of, because she was aware of how things affect people once they're associated with the first couple.
Yeah, and she wasn't out to get big,
Yeah, it wasn't about recognition, it was about doing the right thing and encouraging young women. Alexa, you can turn off the alarm. So we got a couple more minutes, so I'll wrap it up. This book was great. Alexa, you can turn off the alarm. This book was really great. Like, I love this book. I hope many people will read it. It's the Michelle Obama. Alexa, turn off the alarm. Thank you. She's so stubborn.
just like you.
And then I just wanted to touch base on a couple things. So there was a point in Michelle's life where she reconnected with her friends and tried to make sure she had time for her friends, her old friends and her new friends. And she realized that was an important part of her life, and I think that's important for women to do. And then she also... And then it talks a little bit about her and Barack and like how hard, it was for Barack to do some things just because the Republicans were not supporting him. It talks a little bit about that, but that's, with every party, but I'm sure it was even harder for them. And it was frustrating because he was trying to do so many things and a lot of things were not getting done that he wanted to get done quicker. And then it talks about, the fact that Trump was alluding to running for presidency. Then it talks about how they supported Hillary, to become the president. And then I just wanted to read this part because you really just need to read the whole book. The book's awesome. About her. In the end, Hillary Clinton won nearly 3 million more voters than her opponent, but Trump had captured the Electoral College thanks to fewer than 8,000 votes spread across Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. I am not a political person, so I'm not going to attempt to offer an analysis of the results. I won't try to speculate about who was responsible or what was unfair. I just wish more people had turned out to vote, and I will always wonder about what led so many women, in particular, to reject an experienced, qualified female candidate and instead choose a misogynist as their president. But the results was now ours to live with. So I think we can end the book on that. Think about that, America. So, in all, me and both my moms, we recommend this book, Becoming Michelle Obama. We will be back in 2 weeks to talk about Trevor Noah, and I love this book. Like, I hope everybody gets the opportunity to pick this up and read with us. We're going to do it in 3 sections, just like how we did the Michelle Obama book, to give people a chance to join in with us. So it has like 280 pages, so we'll probably do like around 100 pages every 2 weeks, and then we'll talk about it. And you could read the book. I read the book like in 3 days or whatever. But this way people can get a chance to join us and to enjoy reading the book with other people and hear about what, we want to talk about.
It's very funny, but it's also very serious.
It is.
And it exposes a lot of truth
Yes.
that's not usually commonly known,
And my mom has picked another book that we'll read pretty soon. It's going to be The Black Unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
So get ready. We're trying to pick books that are like about inspiring people and their how they rise to success, how they rise up.
Yeah.
All right. So peace out. We'll see you guys soon. Bye bye. This thing is stuck. Oops.